Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be showing a game in the London Online Chess League. This game's played with 45 minutes on the clock and a 15-second increment. It was game number 4 of the league, round 4, and I was playing on board 1 versus a very promising junior player. I had white, so my aim this game was to actually get them out of their opening theory and play very aggressive against them. Because I believe that if they go on the attack, he's a very strong tactical player, and also his strategy and his positional skill is surprisingly strong for someone as young as him. Therefore I have to rely on the defence not being so good. I play e4 and e5, knight f3, and we have a Petrov. So the main line is knight takes pawn, and then it goes into a very equal position. Knight c3 could lead to the 4 knights defence. And there's a couple of other moves as well which don't promise a lot for white. So I played this slightly unusual move, bishop c4, where black can easily just go into the main line openings with knight c6, for example. But instead he chooses to accept my gambit with knight takes pawn. Then I play knight c3, and I had hoped he wouldn't know how to play this opening. So possibly even black can play this. I was thinking at the time, actually, I was really hoping he wouldn't play knight c6, because now I think I have to actually accept his knight. Then d5, and it's not so fun. So bishop d3, pawn takes, bishop takes. This is quite a well-known fork trap, to simply have an okay position as black. And to be honest, I actually prefer playing as black in these positions. But he wants to hold on to the extra pawn, doesn't want to let me off the hook. So instead of knight c6, he plays takes. I take with the d-pawn. And here, very difficult move. What would you play if you were black in this position? So the best move is what he played. The trouble that black has is that they need to stop me playing knight to g5, going for the kind of fried liver idea of taking the f7 pawn. But also, the e5 pawn is being attacked. f6 is the only move. And I can't sacrifice my knight because black can play queen e7 afterwards, pinning my knight to the king. Knight h4. I wonder if you can see what I am planning to do with the move knight h4. He stopped me doing that plan. My idea was to go queen check on h5. And then if black had moved their pawn to g6 where it is now, I could have sacrificed my knight, given it up, and really have given their king no safety, and also maybe taken their rook, depending on how black responded. So now my plan f4, I'm trying to blast apart my opponent's defences. If they take me, I would castle, and then very quickly gain an attack on the undeveloped black position. But queen e7, good move. Now pawn takes pawn comes with check, if he chooses to do that next move. And possibly I should do something else, but the thing that I have to worry about is if I castle, then black can check me with their queen on c5, attacking my bishop, winning it. I played f5, which was still in book, or at least in my preparation, I should say. So black needs to play queen g7, which he did. I take, takes back, then queen g4, and there's a very unnatural move for black, which is the best move, which I didn't believe he would know, because this is a kind of move which you have to already know what the best move is to even consider it. It's king d8. The reason is that if you do this move, then you can play pawn d5 next turn, which would do a discovered attack on my queen from that c8 bishop, and also attack my c4 bishop. And at the same time, the bishop is guarded by the king. Also, this takes a lot of the sting out of me taking on g6 with a queen or knight, and potentially having checks against their king on e8. But not an easy move to see by any means. Instead, g5 was the move. I can play knight f5 now. Queen h7. So it's preventing me from castling and also pressuring my f5 knight, so moves like d5 might be useful in the near future. I play bishop d3, trying to go for cheapos. If I play knight d6 check, I'd win the queen next turn with my bishop. Queen g8 was played, although apparently king d8 is still very, very good. And we're pretty much out of book here, or out of my prep. My move was not very strong. Apparently bishop c4 is best, but I thought I should try really going for it. Castles. Pressuring the f6 pawn, and black's pieces are all on the back line. Knight c6 is played. d5 apparently is a slight improvement, but it could easily lead to problems. At least according to the computer, although I'm not entirely sure I would have the stomach to play d5 if I was black. And apparently I should just go knight e3 and try to attack the f6 pawn, but instead my plan was to connect the rooks, prevent bishop c5, and play rook a d1 or rook a e1 to go for the king. Now d5 is played, so my knight doesn't have anywhere to go, it's pinned. I line up with the king, and black now attempts to castle queenside. They have not moved their king the whole game, so I guess a positive behind not playing king d8. I'm attempting to break open the position in the centre, go for the king, and I think here black should just castle. It's not apparently the very best move, because I can take and it causes some small discomfort to black, but even if I win this pawn, I was already a pawn down. So it's not so bad, but I'm sure this is probably okay because the queen can now journey to a5, and I'm not sure that my initiative is worth anything, to be honest. And black is still a pawn up and about to connect their rooks. But instead he took me, I took back. This gives me some more pressure. Queen h7 going for mate on h2, or not mate, but going for a big attack. I play h3 to prevent that disaster from occurring. Castles. And now my rook on e1 is no good. It's aiming at a pawn that's fully protected, and also there's no black king on this line. So rook d1, trying to go for some pressure against the black pieces. And fortunately here, just the sheer application of pressure and the persistent nature of it over time often leads to your opponents blundering or making errors. So here, black chose to play queen g6. I believe the idea is to at some point play rook h4, going for my queen, skewering it to my bishop, and my knight often won't be able to capture because then the white queen will get taken by the bishop on d7. However, queen g6 does lead to some problems for black. Can anyone see what it is I played as white in this position? I thought it quite a cool move. Rook takes d7. If black dares take with their king, they walk into a minefield here with some terrible, devastating attacks, especially as my knight can move practically anywhere without being taken. So knight h6, for example, h4 I mean, would be a useful move to attack the black queen and do a check simultaneously on the king. Black has to take, otherwise they're losing a whole bishop for nothing. But then bishop e6 with a pin, winning back the material. And black didn't fully understand the danger of this move. They played queen h5, so that now if I take the rook and they take back, and then my knight does some sort of discovered check, they could then take my queen to get out of check, and they should be fine. But the move I played is leading to an endgame advantage. I want to have the two bishops. I love having the two bishops. So knight d6 check is a very effective move. And black now has to capture the knight, to which I take the rook, and it is protected by my queen here. So there's no way out. Although an alternative move, which is also good, rook d1 is also quite nice, but black does have the defense of knight b8, which I thought knight d4 was going to be played in the game, but actually knight b8 somehow holds everything for black. There's only a very small advantage to white. But yeah, knight d6 is the best move. Bishop takes check. Now, if I can trade off the major pieces, the heavy pieces, the queen and rooks, then I believe I should have a better position. So first I capture this pawn. Now we're on an even footing in terms of the material. Bishop e7, I retreat, takes, and then I capture back with the bishop. So I'm fully protected. Now black here needs to be moving their central pawns. d5 is the move I was most concerned about. If they can gain some space in the center, improve the bishop and the king and the rook, then I may have a hard time trying to grind a win. But instead, this passive rook h7 is played, allowing me to first dominate the knight with the pawn so it can't move forwards to d4 and b4. Then last chance of black to play d5, but he doesn't take it. This allows bishop e6. Now I'm preventing black from improving their pieces. Knight a5, knight on the edge. It's trying to do a slow maneuver round. It's too slow though. Now I can trade the rooks. Otherwise their bishop will drop. So the rooks are now off. And my potential passed pawn, a loss of alliterative language, my potential passer is the h-pawn. If I can play, say, g3 and h4, that should be enough. Or if I can take that g5 pawn, that's even better. So while black is maneuvering around, I improve the king, keep on moving him. Apparently king g3 is best, but I didn't see why. Knight d3, going for the pawn on b2. I don't want to risk anything here, so b3. Knight e1 check is a move, I guess, but I can always then play king g3 if I have to. Instead, though, knight f4 was played, going for my pawns. But this unfortunately led to a trap. I played g3, which at first may look careless. If black plays, say, knight d3, I can then march up king g4. But it looks at first like black is winning a pawn. I may lose all my advantage. However, king g4, the knight is now trapped on the edge of the board. So they have to lose the knight for another pawn. I'm now 2 pawns down, but I have this extra bishop, and I control the light squares. All of black's pawns are on dark squares, as well as their bishop. So after bishop f6, king f5, just make sure that bishop is passive. Then bishop d5, control the 3 black pawns in the chain, d6, e5, f4. None of them will be able to move again. All I need to do now is bring in my king. So first I waste a bit of time, play c4, make sure that none of my pawns are vulnerable. Then b4, gain some space, start pushing the pawn up. And now this may not be the best move, but I thought it was just a simple maneuver. Force the pawn forwards to avoid losing it, and then keep as many pawns of mine as I can on the board. b6 is now a weakness, d6 is a weakness, and the black king will eventually be forced to move. So apparently king c7 is best, but I'm not sure anything matters at this stage. If king c7, I can play bishop c6, then play king e6. I'm slowly infiltrating. So bishop c7. My king is going to get to e6, though, eventually. And here king d8 was played, which is not the best. But if a4, I can either swing my bishop all the way round and capture the a4 pawn, or I can move my bishop on f2 and swing it around to b4 and then take on d6. And I'll then hoover up all their pawns on d6, e5, f4. And that should lead to a simple win. So apparently bishop e4 is best, according to the computer. But yeah, either one would win. But after king d8, I found a sneaky move which puts the win beyond any doubt. Can you guess the move I played to finish the game off? The move is bishop d7. Taking my bishop off the key control of the light squares, but it's threatening bishop h4 mate. Black has to move their bishop, and then instead of bishop h4, which would lead to king c7, where I now need to work at it all over again, trying to win, I have bishop takes b6, check. They have to block. Then bishop f2, threatening the mate all over again, and then b6, and their king is totally shut in. And this is a case of whatever black does, any move will lead to checkmate. So at this stage, black resigned. Overall, I thought interesting game. My opening prep didn't go perfectly to plan. He found some really, really good moves in the middle part of the game. But then I think my pressure and my relentlessness to continue trying to gain the initiative eventually worked in my favour. So I think I was right to play the way I did, but there were definitely some improvements I could have made in the match. Overall, I'm happy to have won though, and I believe the team won the match by half a point. I think we won 2.5, 1.5. So this game was crucial in deciding the match. There's another London League game I'll be uploading today, and my next tournament match, or league match, should be on Tuesday in a few days' time, after the day after Easter Monday. And that should be a 4NCL match, and I reckon I'll be playing someone over 2100. So hopefully it'll be a good game. See you then. Bye.